Welcome to Seasons of Life, a biblical perspective for how to navigate life's ups and downs. Do you feel overwhelmed? Or do you feel successful? Experiencing loss? This weekly 15-minute word of inspiration will motivate you to live with more wisdom and peace. Here is your host, Pastor Mercy Oduah.
My precious listeners, I welcome you to Seasons of Life, a biblical viewpoint for handling your life challenges. I am Mercy Oduah. My 10 minutes of inspirational talk aspires to let you know that pain and suffering are inevitable and to offer you a spiritual support and guide as you go through the ups and downs of life. Yes, seasons of life, they are inevitable. In this part of the world, I am excited that winter is over and we are in spring, about to go to summer. So you can see me with colorful shirts and flowers, and the flowers are blossoming outside, and the birds are flying and chirping and making those musical sounds because the season of winter is over. We are now in a different season, and I am dressed to suit the season that I'm in. So is our life experiences. No season lasts forever. That situation that you are going through, that pain and suffering does not last forever. I want you to know that. So I'm here to offer you a spiritual support and guide as you navigate through the ups and downs of life. I emphasize also that I am sharing my experiences from my grief, hoping that it will benefit somebody. And I will appreciate it if you listen to it and then share it with somebody that is going through pain so that we all can be a source of encouragement. That is what God will want us to do at this time. This is episode 11. We're getting there. This is episode 11. And today I want to talk about lessons from pain and suffering. Yes, for everything in life, there is a lesson that we need to learn. So, what is the lesson that that situation is teaching you? That brokenness, that heartache, sickness, whatever it is, there is a lesson that it is supposed to teach you. And it is your responsibility to discover that lesson because the glory of God is revealed in the lesson and not in the pain. So all you need is to be willing to learn that lesson. In the last episode, we talked about God hearing us in times of suffering. We asked the question, does God hear us in times of pain and suffering, or does he just remain silent? And from my talk with you, we determine that God speaks in time of trouble, but it might not be the way we expect him to talk. Sometimes God speaks from the situation, from the lesson that you learn from that situation, from that experiences. God can use it as his voice to you. So that's why learning the lesson is very important. You have to learn the lesson. However, regardless of the source of your trouble, whether you cause it or is by accident or is part of life, I want you to know that all things work together for good for those who love God and who are called after his purpose. All things work together for those who love God and who are the call of his purpose, according to Romans 8:28. So if you love God, know that all things will work together for you. But sometimes those things working together for you is part of the lesson that you have to learn. Even our role model, our hero, our champion of salvation, our Redeemer, Jesus Christ, had to learn his own lesson according to the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 8. It says that Jesus learned obedience from his suffering. He learned obedience from his own suffering, not as a sinner, but in righteousness, he learned obedience. He showed obedience and humility in his pain for our sake. It was within his power to destroy all the people that mocked him, all the people that were challenging him, and even those that crucified him. It was within his power to destroy them. Rather, he chose not to use his authority to destroy them because he wanted to demonstrate obedience to us. He wanted to demonstrate obedience to the will of God. So he surrendered himself to be mocked, to be spat upon. It is an act of obedience that you and I will have to learn it. So the same is with us. There is a lesson of obedience, humility, compassion, love, faith that God is teaching you through that experience. Your suffering is training you to be patient, to be more compassionate, to have faith, to depend on God. My own experiences from my loss and sickness taught me a lesson that I could never learn in any educational institution. Yes, there are certain things you don't learn in school. It is only experience that will teach you that. So my experience from losing my 25-year-old son taught me about life with the young people, what they go through, and things that concern them. It taught me to be mindful of young adults, to be mindful of their health, to be mindful of their issues, because they too have concern. It taught me to be mindful. It taught me the faithfulness of God and God's ability to deliver us even when we go through pain. And also, I have been sick too. In 2020, I contacted COVID as a healthcare worker. I contacted it from the hospital. My COVID experience was very terrible. But at the end of the day, I learned compassion and care because that is what God wants me to learn, compassion and care. And I was able to see how sick people who are very sick, how they feel because I was very sick. Therefore, I say to you right now, in that situation that you're going through, learn the lesson that is teaching you. Learn there is a purpose that you are going through that divorce, that separation, that poverty, that sickness, that loneliness. I want you to look beyond the pain and learn the lesson that is teaching you. Do you know that in the words of Jordan Peterson, he says that experience is the best teacher, and the worst experiences teach the best lessons. So if you are in the worst season of your life, there is an outstanding lesson that you need to learn. Sometimes we dwell too much in the pain, in what that situation is causing you. We dwell so much in the pain and we forget that there is a lesson. Then at the end of the day, we come out no change. We come out the same. I want you to know that there are hidden treasures in your trouble season experiences. There are hidden treasures in those trouble seasons, in those experiences of life that are so challenging. There are hidden treasures for you to learn. And when you discover it, it becomes a gold in your hands. Do you ever wonder why employers ask for experience when you are looking for a job? they want to know how many years of experience you have. You will be disqualified sometimes if you don't have job experience because they know that experienced applicant will make a good candidate in that job situation because of their knowledge. They know, employers know that experienced uh, applicants, they are a powerful tool for growth and success for any company. Therefore, they want to hire somebody that has experience because with the experience, they will bring the knowledge that they are looking for. Therefore, I want you to know that the lesson that you learn from your suffering will add value to your life. The lesson that you learn is what will make you or not to make you. If you learn a good lesson, it will make you. If you refuse to learn the lesson, you will be frustrated and the enemy will bounce on your mind and cause you to give up. Have you ever wondered why Joseph? We all know the story of Joseph in the Bible. Have you ever wondered why he had to go through so much pain and suffering, even though God has great plans for his life? Joseph suffered a lot. His brothers sold him as slaves to Egypt, as a slave to Egypt. And then when he got to Egypt, he became a servant in the house of Potiphar. Potiphar loved him and made him his servant. And then Potiphar's wife accused him of rape that he did not commit. And Potiphar was mad and Joseph was put in prison. Can you imagine? Joseph became a prisoner in a foreign land and he had no communication with his family and from society. But the Bible said that the Lord was with him. Of course, God is always with us in our pain and suffering, even though sometimes we don't feel it. So in that situation that is happening in your life, that predicament, that anguish, that story that is not good, God is with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. But you have to know, you have to learn what he is telling you in that situation. So Joseph was thrown in prison in a foreign land where he did not know anybody. Then after a while, because I tell you that seasons change, after a while, he was released from prison and then brought before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And Joseph was able to interpret the dream of Pharaoh, that Pharaoh was so impressed with the knowledge that Joseph had. And what did Pharaoh do? Pharaoh made Joseph the prime minister, his prime minister, second in command in the whole of Egypt. You see how his seasons changed. But while Joseph was going through all those ordeal, he was learning the lessons of obedience, of humility, of forgiveness. Those ordeals, those situations shaped his life so that the end of the story was that Joseph was able to forgive his brothers that sold him as a slave. Can you believe that? How could he ever forgive his brothers? Because Joseph had been processed. The circumstances of life, those painful situations that he went through, trained him to know what forgiveness is about, to know what leadership is about, to know what humility is about. Therefore, when the opportunity came, he was able to forgive his brothers. So I want you to know that you too have a lesson to learn. And as I close, I ask you, do not focus on the trouble that you are facing. Shift your mindset to the lesson that situation is teaching you. There is a lesson that situation is teaching you. because the glory of God, as I say, is revealed in the lesson, in the good lesson that you learn. The glory of God is revealed in the lesson. The process belongs to you. You have to go through the process, but the glory, something that God will use, belongs to God. So I want you to take time to learn so that God will take his glory. God will get his praise from that situation. As I close, I want you to reflect on the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 28. All things work together for those who love God and who are the called of his purpose. All things work together for those who love God and who are the called of his purpose. So I say to you, Shalom, and see you next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of Seasons of Life. Until next time, be well, and may God bless you.